Good morning. Welcome to Thursday's daily devotion. So, we've been working with John chapter 6, and I want to, just work out a couple ideas that I've been thinking about in the text and give you a little bit of, extra information and way to connect to the text. So, I'm going to just read a couple pieces and then tell you what's maybe confusing to me and how I make sense of it. So, first of all, this story comes again out of Jesus feeding the people with a multitude of bread, right? He feeds this multitude of people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. It's important to understand that because of the context, and I'll get to that in a minute. And what I want to talk about then is Jesus answers the people as they're wanting to give them more and more bread. This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent. Remember, we're at John 6, chapter 22. And then they say, Sir, give us bread always, or this bread always. And Jesus says, I'm the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. I'm going to read the text again, and then I want to talk a little bit about it. But first, a little bit of context about bread in the Greco-Roman world. So I'm drawing right now from a book called Symbolism in the Fourth Gospel. It might look backwards to you. Meaning, Mystery, and Community by Dr. Craig Kester. I'm just going to read a chapter that gives you a comparison of life in Jesus' day and what Jesus is offering versus what the people are expecting, because they've been given bread before. And here's what I mean. On page 56, actually, readers of this story would not have to know the history of Tiberius. That's kind of where this feeding story is taking place. However, to see in the crowd traits that were typical of the masses in various Greco-Roman cities. Roman rulers would regularly placate the populace with distributions of bread or grain. Cicero recalled that the practice was agreeable to the masses, since it provided food in abundance without work. Juvenal lampooned citizens who accompanied the consul because of the free meal ticket stashed in their wallets, and he mocked the crowds who were willing to proclaim any lucky carcass an equal successor to Augustus, but were devoted only to the bread and circuses with which their leaders mollified them. Similarly, Chrysostom chided the people of Alexandria, who were reputed to be a group to whom you need only throw plenty of bread and a ticket to the hippodrome, since they have no interest in anything else. Like the typical crowd in a Greco-Roman city, the multitude in John 6 had no interest in anything but bread. I find that fascinating and interesting that Jesus' miracle here has a context in regular society apart from him and apart from the Jewish context. So it's more than a miracle. It's more than just giving bread to the people like God gave bread to the people through Moses when we read the story. This is about offering something radically different than the world. So I'm going to read the text again. The next day, the crowd that had stayed on the other side of the sea saw that there had been only one boat there. They also saw that Jesus had not got into the boat with his disciples, but that his disciples had gone away alone. Then some boats from Tiberias came near the place where they had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. So when the crowd saw that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they themselves got into the boats and went to Capernaum looking for Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Jesus answered them, Very truly, I tell you, you're looking for me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For it is on him that God the Father has set his seal. Can you hear the irony in there? Don't work for the food that perishes. They've not had to work for any food. They've just had to come and receive what Jesus is giving them, which would be the same way that the leaders placated the people, just gave them food, and then they would never have to do anything. They could just eat. Okay? Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For it is on him that God the Father has set his seal. When they said to him, What must we do to perform the works of God? Jesus answered them, This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent. So they said to him, What sign are you going to give us then, so that we may see it and believe? What work are you performing? Our ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness, as it's written. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." They said to him, "Sir, give us this bread always." And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." So first, as we interact with the text, this text is not a text that we apply to, oh, well, looking out in our world and saying people should work for their food. We shouldn't give whatever social assistance or hungry people food or anything like that. This is not intended to be that. This sign is intended to work in our lives to see God's present action. So the Roman leaders would throw people bread temporarily, and they would be stuck in that temporarily present moment. And that was it. What Jesus is saying is that your Father is living and active and present, not just in the past, but consistently in every time, in every moment, in every space, in every place, giving you more than just bread, physical bread, giving you a bread that allows you to see that and believe that. And that's in Jesus the Christ, who we see liberates us from death. He dies on the cross so that from that moment we get to look at our life and not have the fear of death hanging over our heads, or the tyranny of the present moment dictating our lives. We get to see that God is present, and in hearing that in Jesus, the bread I give, no one will ever hunger. We can look in any present moment, and rather than hunger for God's presence, through Christ we get to see and hopefully believe that God is present, working good, leading life towards a good end of eternal life, even if the present moment's hard. So I invite you to think about that and try to make sense of whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty, and what that means spiritually, physically, in your present life. And look for God, because Jesus is giving you that faith every moment and inviting you to look for Him and see Him in your life. Have a blessed day.